Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about my thoughts after watching Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the film. If you've been around my channel for the past month, you might have noticed a bit of a theme going on with the amount of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children related videos going up. I did one on the books, I did a Miss Peregrine inspired makeup tutorial inspired by the makeup that Eva Green wore as Miss Peregrine, and I did my thoughts on Tales of the Peculiar by Ransom Riggs as well. So naturally I was going to do a video on my thoughts on the film. I will pre-warn you, this is probably going to be quite I hope you heard that, my fingers just cracked. This will be quite a lengthy video, but I'm going to try and get through it as fast as I can because I do have quite a few thoughts on this particular movie. Naturally I was going to have quite a few thoughts because I did love the book so much and I recommended it to everybody that I knew, so I was going to have quite a lot of expectations regarding this movie. And then even though going in I knew there were going to be changes, at the same time I didn't know how much they had changed. Grab a cup of coffee if you want, grab a snack. I can't believe I'm saying this, every YouTuber says that when the video is over 7 minutes long. This is going to be probably about 3 times that, so you probably definitely will need a sugar fix to keep you going. Red Bull, go get it. Iron Brew, whichever. But yeah. So as I said, I love the books. I actually finished rereading it for the second time just prior to go seeing the movie because I wanted it to be fresh in my head and just to remember the little details. I want to talk about 2 things first and then I'll get really into the nitty gritty of it. I want to talk about design and casting first. The first thing that I loved the most was Miss Peregrine's outfit. I loved her costume. It felt very much like something that Miss Peregrine would wear. I completely loved the idea that she had these little shoulder pads that went straight up, almost like wings in itself, and then on the inside of it there was like a patterned piece of material that was completely separate and had like blue undertones. It was like a duochromatic material that in certain lights it would look black and then it would look blue, which went with her entire theme. She was very blue and black. In her hair she had blue tinge throughout it. It wasn't like it was like noticeable, it was like, oh my gosh, she's got blue hair. It was almost like it was just catching the light, and that went with the design of the actual bird. Whenever she was in bird form, it was a blue peregrine. I really loved how all of that was incorporated, and of course her eye and makeup, I was in love with it, and just, yes, I just loved everything about Miss Peregrine, naturally because she's my favourite character in the book and in the movie. Everybody notices when something is directed by Tim Burton. He's a very specific design. This movie, however, was not very Burton-esque. I felt the only things that really stood out for me as like, this is directed by Tim Burton, were Emma's shoes, the design of the hollows, and pretty much the house. I think was very Burton-esque. Like Emma's shoes were completely Burton-esque. They had that typical old world feel with modern and with almost like a Victoriana steampunk inspiration, and then the hollows with the really gangly long, unnaturally long limbs was very Tim Burton. So those were really the only things that really felt like it was a Tim Burton movie. Then the design of the house was perfect. They did a really great job at finding a house that really was, this is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I think it was in Belgium they find it. That's going to be on my fangirl bucket list, let me tell you, it's going to be on there. And I felt like it really brought it all together, that this was the perfect house, this was Miss Peregrine's house, and the design of it was spot on in my head. The idea that I had in my head with the shape of it, the overall grandeur and the shape of it, it felt perfect. Another thing that felt very Burton-esque was Florida. It really almost harked back to his Edward Scissorhand days. It was very bright but bland. Everything seemed beige or cream. There was not a cloud in the sky, and it almost felt fake. It felt so fake. It felt very much like, alright, this is the imagination. This is the other. This is the place where he doesn't belong, and then like when he gets to the other side into the loop, everything is colourful and bright and beautiful and just alive. There it felt, Florida felt fake and bland and manufactured. And it literally was just like, I feel like I'm watching Edward Scissorhands, just a little bit. Also, the costumes for the children were perfect. I felt every single child had a costume that was very fitting for them, especially Claire and Bronwyn. Their costumes were just perfect. Of course, like for Claire, because she had the mouth on the back of her head, which were like pure gnashers, she was literally a little princess in the entire film. I felt like I was just looking at this little princess with her ringlets and a pink princess dress, and literally I think she had like a princess fairy wand at some point. It was perfect for her. Emma's dress was so sweet and very beautiful. It was just floaty and billowing, which really spoke to her peculiarity of air and being lighter than air. But it would also fit the Emma in the book with the fire abilities, you know. It was very transcendent that way. Fiona's costume was really great. Olive's was really sweet. That kind of took away from her fiery temperament, but her hair spoke to that instead. Horace was perfect. His costume was just this cute little man, just trying to be older than he is. He was so sweet and lovely, and of course he was like going to Jake, I love your shirt, very nice. Perfect. And of course Hugo with the beekeeper's net and the brown and yellow striped top. I thought that was very nice touch, almost very be-like. Good one, costume department. With the casting, I thought Eva Green was pretty much spot on perfect for Miss Peregrine. Even though in the books she's portrayed as a bit of an older lady, I thought Eva Green was perfect for a almost younger Miss Peregrine. She did a phenomenal job with what she was given with the script and with the book. She researched Peregrines to bring her own spin on the character. She found out the Peregrines were the fastest flying birds, and of course with Miss Peregrine and the loop and controlling time and having to reset the loop every single night, she would be obsessed with time. And she spoke so fast in that movie. Going in, I knew she was going to be speaking fast because I saw an interview where she explained all of this, and I didn't realize how true that was until she was explaining to Jake why she knew he would be right on time. And I was like, what? And when Fiona's late, she's like 51 seconds late to Fiona. And then when Bronwyn's on time, she's like, good girl. I thought she did a phenomenal job. She was vulnerable at times, especially around Victor and her protectiveness of the children. She is so fiercely protective of those children. Like, yes, they're not children really anymore because they're 80 plus years old, technically. But she is so fiercely protective of them. And when Baron gets to the loop, she's protective but sassy. Like, he's telling the children what to do, and she's like, nobody tells my children what to do. And then she's like, children, come down here please. And then when he starts talking, she's like, what can I tell you? Sassy, love it. She brings almost a little hint of comedy, despite the fact she's the headmistress. She brings like a little hint of comedy in that, do I have to kill them again? And I was like, when did she kill them to begin with? You know, in the book when like police are coming to the house because they set the town on fire, she's like, do I have to kill them again? So I kind of like that they've created this almost backstory to them on their day-to-day lives. I thought that was really good. And also her inter-character relationships. I think the twins, especially, her relationship with the twins was really quite sweet. And Emma felt like the daughter that she never had. In the books you really get to see that, but in this movie it's almost hinted upon. Then at the end, when she's bidding the children farewell, you really get to see how, you know, fiercely protective she is of Emma and how much she favours her almost. We really do get to see a very sweet, vulnerable side where she tends to Victor. She probably tends to him every single day. She comes up to him, makes sure he's tucked in nicely, and she just lifts him and hugs him to her, and like this regretful, sorrowful, remorseful embrace, and you just really get to see this vulnerable side of Miss Peregrine when you just like see her being so strong all the time. And I thought that was a really nice touch to the movie. I will say I was slightly disappointed in Terence Stamp. I was so excited that he was cast as Abraham. I love his voice and just the way that he controls his face in more horror-esque, almost like Tim Burton style movies. I thought he was perfect for Abraham, but whenever we first see him, I was disappointed by him. I thought, oh my god, yes, he's going to be completely mental. He's going to be having this breakdown. He's going to be on the phone to Jake. And I felt like, okay, was this his test shot? Was this his test take? I felt like so disappointed by it. I didn't like it. And then even when he's dead and his eyeballs are gone, which I will be touching on later, he was speaking so clearly, not like he was just about to die in 5 seconds. It's like, he sounds like he's just trying to remember what his lines were. And that disappointed me so much. Like, not to be like a bitch about it, but you know, I will give any actor their due. I will appreciate everything that they give, but because I love this book so much and I expected so much from it, I kind of felt disappointed by his portrayal. And then, but he's so good when he's Grandpa Abraham, when he's interacting with the younger Jake, but when he's going crazy, he's kind of like, oh crap, these are my lines. That's just my opinion. By the way, Chris O'Dowd with an American accent is weird. I'm used to hearing him all the time with an Irish one. Even in Bridesmaids, he had his own accent, but in this movie it was like so weird hearing him. I was like thinking, is that his actual voice, or has somebody done a voiceover for him? This is weird. Enoch I thought was perfectly cast, although I couldn't remember him being Scottish in the book, and I think he's a little bit older than the book character as well, but I thought he was perfectly cast. He had the disdain and the distrust of Jake spot on, and his affection for the other characters spot on. I'm not sure why they had Olive flirt with Enoch, but if it was literally for the end scene, which I'll talk about later, I will be like, not the end scene, but like later in the movie, I'll be very disappointed. I'd just be like, seriously. Fiona, cute little girl, wonderful costume. She didn't have an Irish accent, which Fiona in the book does, and she speaks a lot more than Fiona in the book does. Fiona in the book only talks literally at the end. Fiona talked quite a lot in this movie, and not to complain, because the little girl that acted Fiona was very, very good. It's just, you know, she was a lot more put together than the wild girl of Borneo vibe that Fiona in the book does, but she was beautifully cast. The twins, perfectly creepy, and the movie actually gives them a peculiarity which I found very interesting, and I was like, oh, very fitting as well. Millard, however, I found different the most than what I thought in the books. I imagined him older because he's always hanging about with Emma, so I imagined him older, maybe about 17, 18 years old. In the film, it sounds a lot younger than the Millard that I had in my head. He doesn't talk as much as Millard does in the book, and it's not mentioned that he's doing his book A Complete Day in the Life of the Island, where he's documented every single interaction between the townsfolk, the pigs, the animals, the weather, this blade of grass right here. He's very much like Millard. He gets into trouble, he gets out of trouble, he walks around naked all the time. So yeah, pretty much just Millard, but younger. Judi Dench as Miss Absett. Can we just take a moment that Vesper and Em are in a movie together? Yes, let's just take a moment, and they hug. Let's just say they hug, and I'm just like, Em and Vesper are hugging. James Bond, I could just like see the sight of a sniper getting onto one of their backs, because we all know how James Bond felt about Vesper at the end. So that is all my thoughts on the design and the casting of the film, and yes, I have notes. So I've only got maybe 4 more pages to go. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the film. These are all of my own thoughts, okay? So If I appear to be very nitpicky, that's because, as I said, I love the books, and so I thought I was going to love this movie. I was so excited about it. I was counting down the days, and I knew I was going to be seeing it on the day that it opened up here in Northern Ireland. And yeah, these are all of my thoughts. So let's get into it. So first off, I thought the start of the movie was all over the place. I literally thought it was all over the place. It was scene until they got to Carnholm. I did not like that at all. Like, obviously when you're translating a book to a film, it's going to be very different. In that chapter that takes about 60 pages, you can cover that in 60 seconds in a film because of all the exposition, and you can do this part here and you can then flash back to it here. But I felt a lot of it was very bitty and very stagnant and fragmented, and I just didn't like it, to be perfectly honest. And the fact that they had Shelley drive Jake to the grandfather's house instead of the best friend, I thought was really strange. And she just apparently had a 35mm gun in her trunk. Like, I know that that's a thing, but it kind of was more believable when his friend had a gun. I don't know why, but it just did. So I didn't like the start. It just felt like, okay, let's just get this crap out of the way and then get to the island, you know? Like, yes, you can do that with the book. Let's just get to Miss Peregrine's home and then everything's gonna be hunky-dory. But yeah, when it's a film, I just felt like it was just scene. You were just like blink, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. It wasn't my cup of tea. As I said, going in, I knew there were going to be a lot of changes, but I didn't know what extent all of those changes were. I knew that a lot of the peculiarities had been changed, a lot of the ages had been changed, but it's not until you get to Carnholm that you realise just how much had been changed. Uncle Augie is now Kevin's uncle, who runs the Priest's Hole. The museum is done away with, so the curator is done away with. The Bogman is done away with, which was kind of almost like a B role of the film. You know, he was important to the plot as well, because he's the one that gets killed, and then Enoch brings him back to life, and then he says the Bogman killed him, was actually a white. But I just felt like that was peculiar. Like, why change them? And then all of the children come to get Jake. Not that he accidentally comes across them when he's going through the carcass of the home. They are actually sent by Miss Peregrine to get him, and yet he's not shocked that they're there. He's not shocked like, oh, but you're dead. You look exactly like the photos, but you're dead. He literally just delivered it like that, and it was just like, why are you not shocked? Why are you so okay with this? You were in therapy for all of this. You believed that everybody said that these were manipulated photographs, that they weren't real. You told your grandfather literally to go stuff himself because they were fake, they were forgeries. And yet here they all are, and you're just like, hi, how's it going? What? And then when Emma comes across Jake, she still calls him Abe, yet Miss Peregrine's already told her that she's going to get Jake. I just felt like that was completely peculiar. And then the cairn itself looks more like a cave than a tomb. A cairn is almost like a stone pillar, and the tomb's inside. This felt like a cave in a rock face, which kind of defeated the purpose of the island's name. You know, that just didn't gel with me. Like, I have a lot of feelings about this movie, okay? And the fact is, in the book, he's chasing Emma, and that's how he discovers the entrance to the loop, because she's running to get back to it, and then that's how he discovers the loop, instead of walking through it with them and then walking back out and then going, oh, it's different. It was just like such a rewrite of something that was just so simple to begin with. Like, I just don't understand why they rewrote that part. And even when the bomb drops at the changeover, they felt perfectly fine with it. The Jake in the books felt more agitated, like, holy shit, there's a bomb about to drop on us. Why are we still standing here? Why are we just like listening to Run Rabbit Run? And why is everybody so calm? Whereas he was just like, oh, I just didn't feel any kind of wonder or shock or anything regarding anything that went on. Another thing that I thought was a big, massive hole in the transition between the book and the film was the experiment. If you've read all of the books, you will know that the experiment was carried out by Miss Peregrine's brothers, not by Baron. In doing that, it took out the possibility of Hollow City and Library of Souls, because the villains in those books are her brothers, are her siblings. You're not even told that she was trained by Miss Avocet, that she had siblings, that really that this is what happened, this was their history. And it seemed to pretty much just whitewash over everything that Ransom Riggs had created in the original books. And I felt cheated out of all of that. Like, I don't know about you, when you see it or have seen it, I felt completely cheated by the fact that Baron was created to replace Miss Peregrine's brothers. Also, all of the loops had been changed. The loop that they leave Carnarvon is in Blackpool. Blackpool is never mentioned in a loop within the books. We have Miss Wren's loop, which is through Cuthbert, Miss Avocet, who's in Derbyshire, Miss Thrush, who is in London, just to name a few. But at the same time, where did Blackpool come from? Why Blackpool? And it just felt like a complete rewrite of the entire book series. I felt like this isn't right, this isn't what I was expecting. Like, I knew not to expect the whole book, but at the same time I expected a lot of the book to be in it. And this is literally what this entire video is all about. Like, it's all about all the changes that they made and the ones that I don't particularly like, which is pretty much all of them. And then I don't understand where Miss Peregrine shooting a hollow comes in. What was the point of that, other than to show her, oh, Miss Peregrine's badassery with a weapon, or that Jake can actually see the hollows? It's almost like they set it up for Emma to show Jake that he can see them, but they can't. Yet Miss Peregrine's pretty much shoot blindly. Like, I kind of felt that the way in the trailer it made it look like Miss Peregrine can actually see the hollow coming towards her, and she's just getting ready to take aim, like, this is the time that he comes at, blah 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 blah, and she shoots him and lands in the perfectly drawn out shape, which I thought might have harked at Millard's documentation of everything, that he might have drawn it out at some point. When would that have been drawn if she's only going out there at that point to shoot the hollow, yet it's already drawn, and the loop is reset every single night, so that wouldn't be there when the loop's reset, so it would have to be drawn that day. And it's like, what is the point of that? Like, I know it's kind of to explain how Victor died, but I just don't get it. And then just to remind myself to go back to the point that I made about the hollows eating eyeballs. Ew. That was disgusting. That was literally the most disgusting thing I've ever watched. I did not like it at all. Not that I'm grossed out by things, but yeah, that was gross. That is not mentioned in the books at all. The hollows actually eat their second soul, which is their peculiarity soul. You can tell I've been talking for a while when I can't speak English anymore. I was like, what was the point of that? Besides to gross the crap out of us, you know? I really don't know with this film. I was completely disappointed by it, as you can probably tell. Like, not that I need an excuse to fall in love with Miss Peregrine even more than her just badassery, but yeah. Did not like that. Then when Miss Avocet arrives in the book, she's described as the closest thing that they have to royalty, yet I didn't see any kind of shock or admiration or anything from when Miss Avocet actually arrived in the way that she did. I didn't see Emma have a great deal of concern that she was there, just that she was in a bird form and just injured herself. Considering the fact that, you know, like, she's literally like their queen. Like, if the queen just arrived at my front door with a broken arm, I would, like, first faint, the second, you know, like, touch her, see if she's real, and then, like, just stand stock still, because I'm useless. Emma just didn't seem at all perturbed by the fact that she was there. And then even when they've kind of swapped it that Miss Peregrine turns into bird form and goes willingly instead of Peregrine and Avocet going, Miss Avocet remains hidden and helps the children kind of get ready for a big battle with the Hollows, which replaces the lighthouse scene in the book, which I'm raging at because I was looking forward to that. And in all honesty, Miss Avocet is pretty much useless in the movie. Yay for Dame Judi Dench, but she's literally useless in that she just tells them that the Hollows and Whites are raiding the Loops, yada yada yada, but at the same time, pretty much useless. And as I said, we were robbed of the lighthouse scene, which robs us of the U-boat coming up, and at the same time, the U-boat is swapped with a ship in the film. Emma goes down to a ship that is completely submerged off of a Cornholm instead of a U-boat that is sunken, partially sunken onto a sand barge, and they use a tube to breathe instead of her sinking completely down to the bottom, giving him an air bubble, and then just pushing all of the air from a room. So that's completely changed, and I can see a point to it, but it also feels like something that I've seen before in them raising the boat later on in the film. Because I just finished reading the book again, I remember everything that came from the lighthouse, which is Millard getting injured, them trying to swim to the lighthouse, but then hiding into the sunken boat, and then getting to the lighthouse, killing Dr. Golan, and then swimming to get the floating bird cage, and then the U-boat coming up full of Whites. I felt completely robbed of that. I was looking forward to that probably the most out of everything that was going to happen. And then with the boat and the whole Blackpool thing, I'm not even going to mention that because I literally hated it. Because skeletons, nope, no thank you. But I loved the idea that Enoch brought them all back to life. I loved that idea. And then hated the idea that this hollow, this White still had the peculiarity that could freeze water and freeze Bronwyn underneath it, and then freeze Olive, who naturally is the fire, and he's like freezing her to try and kill her, but then she's like so cold that only kind of like a kiss from Enoch brings her back to life. I was like, seriously? Did not like that at all. I thought it was such a cop-out and such a classic trope. I was like, oh my god, I could have seen this coming a mile off. As soon as your man grabbed Olive, I was like, oh god, he's gonna freeze her so much that only Enoch can thaw her. My lord in heaven. And if that's the only reason why they swapped their ages around, Olive and Bronwyn's ages around, to do that, I am very furious. The idea that Baron's peculiarity is a bit of a shapeshift mind manipulation thing was good. It kept that in line with the books, because Jake saw his gardener, school bus driver, his therapist, yada yada yada. I liked that, but I hated the fact that it was him and not just Dr. Golan and had these abilities. And by the way, contact lenses are not that simple to pull out just by going like that. No. Trust me, I wear them. They're not that simple to pull out. I didn't feel like we learnt anything about the characters, especially Emma and Abe, considering that their romance is one of the biggest points of the book, one of the biggest history points of the book. I felt like it was just mentioned and then just swept under the rug. I was completely disappointed by that. It's such an anticlimactic moment. She's just like, I thought he was. And then that's it. No mention of the letters that they sent, just a slight hint from his dad, Franklin, that they suspected that his father was having an affair. Nothing about letters that he had received. Nothing about Emma. Emma didn't mention anything about writing letters. Jake didn't even steal a letter from her. He stole one from Miss Peregrine. I kind of felt like in the book when he saw Emma's letters that it kind of made sense, and that he found the one from Emma to his grandfather. I felt like that was completely missed, and so it kind of was pointless in like saying, oh, we suspected that he was having an affair. With who? All you get is that he was writing letters to Miss Peregrine, who was his old head mistress when he was a child. So he wasn't going to be having an affair with her. There's just no evidence of that correspondence anywhere throughout the movie. And what was the point of Abe's phone call in the loop? What was the point of that? It was just for Jake to like say sorry and like pass. As the movie, I think it has maybe about 40% of the bones from the book, and it's more of a loosely based upon than a adaptation. As a movie, I think it's visually stunning, wonderfully cast. It has a decent script, and I use that term loosely because Jane Goldman did the script, and she previously did the adaptation for Stardust and by Neil Gaiman. And if you've read Stardust, you will know how vastly different that is as well. So I should have known better. But as I said, as a movie, it's wonderful. I would give it like an A-, but as an adaptation, it's horrific. It's about a C, and I am so disappointed by it. I hate myself that I don't love it as much as I want to, or as much as I hoped that I was going to, because I love the book so much. I just felt completely robbed of something that could have been such a great movie. I felt completely robbed of everything. The only character that I felt anything for was Miss Peregrine, especially at the end when her arm's injured, and I'm like, but I thought they couldn't change when they're injured. That's one of the main things about book 2, like she can't change because her wing's injured. Well, Miss Peregrine couldn't change because her wing was injured, and yet she managed to do it in the film and then just fly off. And then the ending, hate it, because it literally just closes the door to the other books. It feels like, yes, it opens the door to like another movie, but at the same time it feels like it's not going to be anything related to Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children in regards to Hollow City or Library of Souls. It feels like it's going to be a completely different standalone movie, which I am not happy about. It just feels like the worst adaptation I've ever seen of a book to film. That might be a very harsh criticism, but it is my opinion, and I'm going to stand by that. I really, really disliked it. As much as I wanted to like it, I was sat there going like this the entire time. And my best friend will vouch for that because she kept looking over at me, and she has the same opinion because she read the book as well and she loved it like I did. I really did not like it. Will I go see it again in the cinema? Probably not. Will I buy it first day it comes out in DVD? Probably not. Will I pray to God that Ransom Riggs writes more? Yes, I will. Oh, yeah, those I think are all of my thoughts that I have on these bits of paper. If not, I'll probably mention them somewhere. If not, I'll probably put them in the blog post with this video, hopefully, if I remember. So yes, guys, those are all of my thoughts on Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the movie. Tell me your thoughts, write them in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Hopefully this wasn't too long and too arduous for you to sit through. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you're new and want to see more videos like this, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.